you should be looking at my outline for the webinar that I'm going to be presenting today on Epic. Epic has got a few things that you need to know about as far as what it does. The primary thing that Epic does is provide price updating. And that's kind of a mechanical process that happens more or less automatically behind the scenes. So I'm going to concentrate today more on how to use Epic to find prices on items. That's where we're going to start, is the different ways to look up items in Epic. But then I also want to stress the importance of Epic as a tool to help you manage your pricing, meaning keeping your prices up to date in your estimating program, using it as a tool to compare prices to what's in Epic to what your suppliers are giving you. So it can be a really important tool to help you keep your suppliers on their toes. And we all know that's a pretty important part of the business, is making sure you're getting not only accurate pricing, but competitive pricing. So we'll get started here with just the basics of how to find items in Epic. So this is the screen you see when you open up Epic. And the first thing we'll cover is the two lookup methods, and then we'll go through a couple of variations on both of those. If you look at the top here, there's two little icons, the pathway mode and the manufacturer mode. Those are the two primary ways to look up items in Epic. In the pathway mode, which is what comes up when you open it up initially, you're going to see these red tabs separating the basic electrical materials into different categories. So this is a lookup method that you'll probably find is the quickest way to look up to find the commodities, your generic items, your conduit, your wire, and you also find a wide variety of other items, boxes, fittings, etc. But think of this mode when you're going to look up the commodities. The manufacturer mode is a way to go directly to a specific item, whether it's a specific item that you've got a catalog number for or a UPC number. We'll talk about UPC numbers. You can go directly to that item from that particular manufacturer. So we'll be looking at those two modes. Let's start back in the pathway mode. It's kind of designed like a book here. If I want to look up EMT, we just click one time on the tab for Conduit and Fittings. Now, when you select from below those tabs, you have to double-click to drill down into a category. So you just double-click on EMT, and then you double-click on EMT Conduit. So the pathway mode, again, think of it for what you want to use to look up commodities, your conduit, your wire, those kinds of commodities. So in this pathway mode, if you're looking for EMT, you would single-click on this little tab for Conduit and Fittings, and then double-click on EMT, and then double-click on EMT Conduit. Now you'll notice that this list of items comes up with a little green background to it instead of a white background. That's an indication that this is, in fact, a commodity. There's no brand associated with these particular items. Now we'll talk about the trade price and the target price in a minute, but you'll see the prices go from 1/2 inch up to 4 inch. So when you're in this lookup mode, it'll typically show you all of the items that fit into that category. Also keep in mind when you're in the pathway mode, if you want to look up something related to EMT, you don't have to go back to the top and drill back down. If you want to look up a connector, for example, you would just single click on EMT connectors, come down here to steel, set, screw, and double click, and then double click on non-insulated throat. Now this one doesn't have the green background because it's a specific brand. This is just the brand that I've got selected right now. You can choose other brands too, which you'll see in a little bit. But when you're at this level, if you want to see all of the information on an item, you just double click on it. So I'm going to double click on the 3/4 inch connector. So this second line is the RACO catalog number 2003. One of the most important things here I was mentioning are the UPC numbers. UPC stands for Uniform Product Code. Everybody knows what a barcode is. If you scan it in at a grocery store or any kind of a store where they scan in barcodes, those are the UPC numbers they're scanning in. So if you look at most of the packaging you get from your wholesalers, most of the packaging today has a UPC number somewhere on the box of the package. The UPC numbers are really important to how the products in the electrical industry are maintained from the manufacturer, which in this case is RACO. They would use that UPC number when they send price changes to their wholesalers that they sell the product to. And same thing with the wholesaler to the contractor. We all have the UPC number as really the master part number behind the scenes for all of the products in Epic. Now, if you look down here at the bottom, we show the last date that this was revised. Sometimes it's just kind of an interesting thing to see when the price was last changed by RACO. 11/26. So it was a few months ago. Rayco may change it tomorrow. They may not change it for 6 months or 6 years. Totally at the discretion of the manufacturer. So is this number here, the trade price, this $560.61. Now the unit of measure is per C, per 100. The target price is a fraction of that. That's the price that Vision establishes by monitoring suppliers all over the country. So $33.64 is an average contractor price. That's when you calculate that per 100, that would be 33 cents a piece, almost 34 cents a piece. This $560 price equates to $5.60 each. Now, the reason I like to use this item is the extreme difference in pricing, because the manufacturers can publish whatever they want. Obviously, we can't tell them what to publish, but we can tell you as a contractor a better indication of what you should be able to buy the item for. Now, the other thing we'll talk about as we go on through the webinar here today is a link that a lot of the items have in Epic to catalog images, catalog pages. If you just click catalog here, it'll go right to that page in the manufacturer's catalog. So if you need it for a submittal, it's right there at your fingertips. These are PDF images. You can save them. You can print a hard copy or both, and you can usually zoom in pretty easily if you need to see more details here. So they're PDF images, again, that you can save or print or both, and having that information at your fingertips without having to go out and search the internet is kind of a handy thing to do. We were talking about this with somebody else, one of my colleagues today before the webinar. Some things you can find real quickly and easily on the internet. Others you have to go kind of through a whole jump through hoops sometimes to go through a particular supplier's website, depending who comes up. Maybe a supplier you're not even familiar with. It may or may not get you to a catalog image. That's the nice thing about Catlynx, is it gets you right to the catalog pages, no advertising, no going roundabout through a wholesaler's website. I'm going to minimize that for now and come back to that. So right now, again, we're in the pathway mode. Now you can back up out of here one level at a time with this little red arrow, or if you want to go back and look up something unrelated to EMT, you can just click on the orange folder that brings you back to the main categories. So let's do another very common item. We're going to look up THHN copper wire, which is under this tab for wire and cable. Then we're going to go down to copper wire, and we'll go right here to THHN stranded. Again, you see that greenish background? I guess it's actually more of a teal color. That tells me that I'm looking at a commodity item that doesn't have a brand associated with it. And again, we typically go from the small sizes, which is 14, all the way up to 1,000. You can also kind of quickly flip back and forth here. Here's THHN. I was asked this TFFN. I had a customer asking about that last week. I helped them add it to their system. One of the things about Epic is if it's an item that you want to put into your database in your estimating program, I don't know if the other manufacturers, the other companies who sell estimating programs do this, but we can show you how to put an item from Epic into your EBM program, and then it gets updated. And it's all tied to that UPC number. So once this item goes into EBM and it's got a UPC number, it'll be updated. Okay, so now I'm going to look up another item. I'm going to go back to the main level, the orange folder with a P. Now, instead of drilling down through these tabs and categories, you can also do a quick search. Sometimes that's a quicker, easier way to do it. With the pathway search here, I can type in MC cable. Now when I search here, it's going to give me several matches, several hits. The one I want to go to is the armored cable, aluminum armored, aluminum jacketed cable with solid wire. And there we go. Again, starting at 14.2, going all the way up to 10.4. Right next to it is stranded. So again, you see all the categories that are within that particular group. Let's try that pathway search again, and I'll show you something to avoid here or how to work around. When you type in, one of the examples I use here is a bypass timer. So when I search here and I don't get any hits, one of the things that works better a lot of the time with the pathway search is to put in less text than more. If I get rid of everything except for the word timer, I'm going to have a little bit better success here. So here's the spring wound timers, and you see the whole different variety of timers with different lengths. If you want to see a catalog sheet, just click one time on that red Y, and it'll flip over to that catalog and go right to that page. So those are the two ways to use the pathway lookup. Either drill down through the categories and subcategories from the tabs at the top down through the categories below, or use the pathway search if you want to have it help you find a particular category. Now, the manufacturer mode is a little more direct way to find an item, and it's very appropriate if you're using the Epic to check the prices maybe on an invoice from a wholesaler, or a price you were quoted over the phone, or just to get a price on something to charge a customer. Because if you've got the catalog number, Epic has almost 2 million items. There's a very high chance, very high probability that you're going to be able to find the item in Epic. So let's say I want to look up a Hubble wiring device. I'm going to go to H. Now the reason I like to use Hubble is that a lot of the wiring devices are kind of generic numbers. The one I'm going to show you is a good example. Under Hubble wiring devices, look down here at the bottom, there's over 12,000 items. If I go to look up by catalog number, and this is a catalog number for a kind of an industrial or premium grade receptacle, 5362. Now I'm going to stop typing right there, even though I've got now a list of about a half a page of items. So these are all items from Hubble that start with 5362. This one in the middle, here's a 5362i, that's a pretty common one. If I click the red Y again, it goes right to that page. So again, use Epic to check the prices on your invoices. Use it to check against, even if you're doing some comparative shopping. Just because you go out and get a price on an item from 2 or 3 suppliers, they may all be giving you prices that aren't very competitive. It just may be that, you have to go look a little further. Now with the catalog number lookup, you'll notice that the default is to search with this little bullet that says left. That means it searches left to right. If you change that little bullet to be embedded, then you get everything that Hubble makes that has 5362 anywhere in the catalog because that's really kind of a series of receptacles that are manufactured by that use that 5362 number in the catalog. So like if we go down here to the tamper resistant ones, this little red Y, TR is tamper resistant usually. It'll go to a different page with the tamper resistant. These are the heavy duty or the premium grade ones, and also the hospital grade ones. So all manufacturers organize their catalogs differently. A lot of similarities, but that's going to be different from catalog to catalog. Let's just take a quick look at what happens if I look up that same 5362 under another manufacturer like P&S. So we go to M to look up by manufacturer, P for P&S, and we'll just double click on P&S, Pass and Seymour. So now when I go to look up by catalog number, that 5362 is already there. I can choose either embedded search, or we'll go back to the left match. And now I've got everything from P&S that has 5362 in the catalog number. So we'll go down to, they have a very similar one, 5362. I don't know what the CH stands for, but we'll just go look at that item. So slightly different characters in the catalog scheme, but it's the same basic idea. These are all 5362 receptacles. Okay, so those are the two ways to look up the manufacturer lookup. Go to the manufacturer, search left to right, or try the embedded search. So what do we do now if we don't have a catalog number? There's a couple ways that Epic can help you find a catalog number. Again, there's nothing wrong with going out to the internet and searching for a catalog number, whether it's another supplier's website or whether it's just a generic list. But watch out for the pricing you get there. Especially if it goes to a Grainger item or something like that, that pricing may be totally out of whack. So come back, even when you find the catalog number, come back to Epic and look it up, because that will give you a much better average price. Let's just go back and talk about that for a second, because I don't think I really gave that a full explanation. Let's go back to that Hubble item again. So when you double click on an item, and again you see the trade price and the target price, we talked about this with the Rayco fitting. The trade price is what Hubble publishes. The target price is what we've given you as an average price. So again, let's say we don't have a catalog number. There's a couple ways that Epic can help you find a catalog number. You can use this description search here. Kind of sort of like looking up an item in Google, but it's just within the Epic database. So if I type in something very generic like a floor box and hit search, I'll find a bunch of items. Look down here at the bottom, there's 920 items. So in this case, I probably want to make it more restrictive. I can actually add some words to the, this is kind of the opposite of the pathway search. Sometimes in here, more words is better. So if I just add in non-metallic and hit search. Now the good thing here is it doesn't matter what order the words are in. It can be non-metallic floor box, it can be floor box non-metallic. When I search, it'll find every item in Epic that has those 4 words in the catalog, in the description of the items. So now we're down to 98 items, which is more manageable. And again, you can go to a catalog page if you want to see a cut sheet on an item. There we go. Eventually you'll get there. There you go. So try the description search. That's one way to find an item. Finally, the way to help that might help you is a lot of the items we deal with that kind of have generic or trademark names. So like with Catlynx is really a trademark name for facial tissue. A lot of products in the electrical industry are that way too. Let's say I'm looking for a Polaris connector. Those are the molded split bolt connectors that are either used in damp or hazardous environments. So let's say I want to find a Polaris connector and I don't know who makes it. I can type in Polaris and hit search. Now there's over 200 items in Epic that have Polaris somewhere in the description. The first ones that come up are Edwards. Those are some kind of signaling devices, which I want to skip by. And go all the way down here to NSI. So that's the company that actually manufactures the trademarked item called a Polaris connector. So now I can kind of go back to their catalog to find a specific item. That's this little button at the top called Catlynx. I'm going to collapse it here. Come on. Why it's so slow here today? Must be my internet connection. Going to go to N for NSI. There we go. Going to go double click on NSI and go to their table of contents. So right down here you'll see the Polaris blue. There's also gray down here, but I'm going to double click there so it goes to that page in the catalog. So now I've got the catalog number, and I should even be able to copy that catalog number into the clipboard. Let's give that another try. So it's an ISW-1. So here's the thing to keep in mind about Epic. When you have a catalog number like that you're pretty sure is a unique number, the other manufacturers don't use it, you can go straight up here to catalog number lookup, leave it at the top on all manufacturers, and either type it in or paste it in here. And it'll go right to that item if you get the right number there. There we go. So there's that item that was in that catalog, the second item in the catalog. I'll just flip back there real quick here. So that's the item I was looking up here. Because catalogs rarely have pricing. You know, they're great for all the specs and great for printing it out for submittals, but they don't usually have the pricing. So we need to go back to Epic to get the pricing and just look up the catalog number there. So that should give you a good variety of ways to find items in Epic. If you're trying to find something that's not in Epic, it might be that we don't have it listed because we either don't have that manufacturer or that manufacturer may not have given us pricing on some of the items. Either case, let us know, and then we'll go back to the manufacturer and see if there's some items that they can add to their list, or if it's a manufacturer that we don't carry, We are all the time adding manufacturers to Epic. It's kind of grown to be a pretty mature product over the years, so I don't think there's, that many out there that we don't have in here, but, new companies come into place. We'll definitely go get their pricing if it's out there, sometimes with or without their cooperation. So let's talk about using Epic to help you better manage and monitor your supplier pricing. It's a feature in Epic called custom pricing. So custom pricing is a feature where you go out to your distributors, maybe take your top 2 or 3 that you do business with, and request that they give you a file that has all the items in their inventory. So and with that file, we need a UPC number, we need a price, and we need a unit of measure. Now we call that file custom price format, CPF, and let me just show you real quick what it looks like. Because I think sometimes they will a little bit buffalo you into the fact, well, they don't know what that format is, they don't know if they can provide it. Here's what it looks like. It's very simple. Got a couple of them here. Here's a gray bar one. Okay, so this file has this UPC number, 11 digits, the price, and the unit of measure. This couple lines at the top aren't critical for what you're looking at. That's all we need in the file. As long as we can get a UPC number, a price, and a unit of measure, we can bring it into Epic. And then you can compare the target price to one or more of your suppliers. So let's just do a quick example here. Under custom prices, I'm going to import it. So at this point, I would navigate to wherever I've saved it on my system. So here's a pretty recent one from, that's January, here's March of 2019 from one of the gray bar branches. I normally like to keep these things kind of anonymous, but this is a particular gray bar branch. It's not a national price. It's a particular branch from one of our customers. So I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to say yes, go ahead and import it, and it'll read all those prices into Epic. So in addition to the trade price and the target price, I'm now going to have a price from gray bar. Now you can not only use that just to compare pricing, but you can use that in your estimate. You can tell EBM to use the target price, or to use the trade price, the gray bar price, or just to use the better of both. If target's low, use that. If gray bar's low, use that. Okay, so it's read those prices in. I'm not going to print out the error file. The error file would list all the items that gray bar gave us that didn't have valid UPC numbers. So obviously we don't want those in the system. So now we go back to custom prices and hit edit. So here's the new gray bar prices. And we just need to set a default here in the price formula so that when we look up an item that gray bar doesn't have in their list, it shows us the Epic target price. That's all I'm doing here. So now when I go to look up the pathway for Conduit, EMT Conduit, I want to add a new column here. I want to put it right before the target price. So we go up to View in Field Order. Yeah, the only part of setting up custom pricing that you'll have to repeat is when they send you a new file. All this setup stuff I'm doing now is a one-time thing. So I'm going to add gray bar to the fields being displayed. I'm going to move it up so it's right before the unit of measure after the unit of measure and before the target price. Now if I'm looking up by part number, by manufacturer, I want to do the same thing. I want to add it and move it up. So now you see how these all come up in blue? This is kind of interesting and not that unusual. Sometimes on the half-inch EMT, you'll see a little bigger difference between the target price and their price. Then you'll notice how as you go up from there, they stay pretty close. Still a little bit under target, which is kind of what you want to see. I don't want to see my supplier charging more than target price. Again, you can have more than one supplier here. And in your estimating program, you can tell it which to use on a particular bid. And maybe, you're not even something you use on a bid. Maybe it's something you use more when you go out to buy out your job. You'll have a better indication of who's got the best pricing. Let's look up one more item here. Let's go to Manufacturer Lookup. Let's try Leviton. It's the other big wiring device manufacturer. So you see these items pop up randomly with the blue price. And again, they're just a little below the target price, which is what I want to see. This one's a little above. If I go to look up by catalog number, I'll type in a CR20, and you'll see more items here that are in blue. So if it's in blue, it means that Graybar gave us a price from that local branch. If it's not, it defaults to the Epic target price. Okay. Just a quick little example of how you would bring an item into your estimating program from Epic. I'll go ahead and start up EBM here. And you can do it one of two ways. You can bring it in as a temporary item to a specific job, or you can bring it into your database as a permanent item, and it'll be there from that point on. So I'm in a little job here called Acme Demo. To bring it in as a temporary item, you come down here to Other Takeoff and hit Temporary Miscellaneous. At the bottom of the screen, you hit Import. Let's do something a little more interesting than that. I'm going to look up by manufacturer. I want to get a Lutron dimmer. So I'm going to look up by catalog number. And these are 1,000 watt Maestro dimmers. Let's go down to Ivory and export. So when it brings that item back into EBM, you'll notice it puts a T in front of the item number. That tells me it's a temporary item. It's only going to be in that job. Now, if you want to bring it in as a permanent item, it's one extra step because you have to tell it where to store it. You can come up here to Database, or you can go here to Miscellaneous Takeoff. It doesn't matter. You decide where to put it under Wiring Devices, Dimmers. Then you can add it right here. So you just hit Add. After you hit OK, you hit Import at the bottom, just like you did before. Find the item. This is the Export button, and it brings it back. So this time it assigns it a number that doesn't have a T in front of it. Just takes the next higher number in the database. I'm going to cancel out of here, but that's all you do to create a permanent item. As far as updating, the options are to get monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual updates on the complete Epic database of 2 million items. There's also an add-on option where you can get the commodities updated daily. That's what we call Duo, daily updating online. It's only available online. The Epic update itself on the 2 million items can be done either on a, like I said, monthly, quarterly, annual, or semi-annual basis, and you can get that either online, which is an automatic process. It notifies you that there's an update and it runs it. Or you can get it old school format on a CD-ROM. So here's something important that I haven't brought up in previous webinars, is how to tell if your updates have been run. I can't tell you how many people I trained that don't know how to tell if their update is run. More importantly, they don't know that they haven't run an update recently. In Epic, if you go up to Help and About, this is the key number here, this issue loaded. So the 19 is 2019, the 17 is the 17th week of the year. Now you can see that I ran that on the 24th. That's when the Epic, that's a complete 2 million items were updated. I last ran Duo, the daily updatings, I last ran that yesterday. Sometime today there'll be another one that updates, and it'll give me the update on the commodities. So those are the two key things as far as, or the three key things that are as far as Epic. Now, your estimating program has a similar option. You want to make sure that they're both in the same issue. Otherwise, we need to help you find out and fix it. Under Help and About, there's the issue number, 19-17, and it was updated from Epic on the 29th of April today. I ran that right before the webinar. So they're both under Help and About. The issue number, the 19 is 2019. The number after that, the 17 in my case, is the 17th week of the year. So that's the first week of May, or the first week of April. But, yeah. 17th week of the year, it doesn't matter which week it is. So those are the key things to look for. If you haven't checked recently, make sure that you're on the most recent issue of Epic, and make sure that your estimating and your Epic have the same issue number on the updates. If not, give our tech support a call. We'll figure it out and fix it for you. I think that's going to about wrap it up here today. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. I want to thank everybody for coming to the webinar. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, rest of your week.